a tune, you know. And as I was setting up the song, I was humming a tune, and then from behind me, I heard someone start to sing the tune, you know. And I turned around, and of course, it was Irrfan. Camels, and talking to the camels, you know, asking them, कि, तुम्हारी पैदाइश कहाँ की है, कहाँ से आए हो तुम, कितनी दूर से आए हो, why do they call you rocket? You must be a really naughty camel because you run like a rocket, you know. Hi, Arundhati.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm super excited about this conversation because finally, this film, which was loved by a lot of film, moviegoers in different film festivals and all, is now finally releasing theatrically. So I'm really, genuinely, very, very excited to watch one of our favorite actors again in the big screen.
Yes, indeed. It's a great moment for all of us. You can imagine, you know, that after all these years, now that the film is getting released, our joy is just over the horizon. But at the same time, of course, we are full of sadness that you know, this film, which has an actor that we love so much and a friend whom we love so much, is no longer with us.
I want to know why it took a little longer than usual to release the film, if I may ask you.
Of course, you know, but really, I don't think this is a very surprising matter. Given the kind of film that it is, usually such films do face a lot of obstacles in their release in India. As you probably know, the film was premiered at the Locarno Film Festival in 2017. And then after that, for about a year, it was traveling at various other international film festivals like London and Dubai and Torino and Munich and Rotterdam. It also won numerous awards. In 2019, 18-19, the film was released in Europe. You know. So we thought, you know, that given all the very, very wonderful feedback from our film festivals, our winning all these awards, and a very good response in Europe, that we will have a release now in India. So we started showing the film to various distributors in India, and on the whole, you know, their response was very good. But they kept saying to us that you know, this is an art film, and we are not very sure whether a film of this kind will be appreciated by an Indian audience. Now, while that was very disappointing to hear, it was not something which was very surprising. He told me, you know, Anup, be patient. Every film has its kismet, and the time for this film will also come. However, you know, in 2019, he was also diagnosed with cancer.
Yes.
So it became more and more difficult for me to tell him that we had still not found a distributor. Okay. And it was only in about 2020, I think it was about a week or two before he passed away, that we heard from Mr. Kumar Mangat of Panorama Studios and Shiv Sharma of 70mm Talkies, that they were committed to releasing the film all over India the way it should be, you know. And what they had to say about the film and what they had to say about their love for Irrfan was really so inspiring, that we knew that we had finally found the distributors who would do justice to the release of this film. However, you know, soon after that, Irrfan passed away, and it took a little time, and this was in 2021, that we were finally ready to release the film. 1 week before the release of the film, we were hit by COVID. So again, we had to postpone,
Okay.
And finally now, given that the cinemas have opened quite largely and all over the country.
Yes. You see, as he said, हर एक फिल्म का एक वक्त होता है, तभी वो रिलीज होती है. ये वो वक्त है. This is that time.
Indeed, yes.
This is that time. But did you manage to convey the message that, hey, you know what, we have got a distributor? I know that you mentioned that he was unwell, but yeah.
Well, the thing is, by that time, Irrfan was not really speaking. He was very weak. He wasn't really speaking. I did send him a message that we have found a distributor finally. But I really cannot say whether he ever saw the message. I hope he did, and that he had a smile when he read it. I really hope so.
To share this story, right? So what happened in 2018, there was a film called Karma that released, and during that time I had a good fortune of having quite an extensive conversation with Irrfan Khan. And उस वक्त मैं ना बात कर रही थी. I was talking to him about not just about the film, but it was a generic interview. So I was also talking about the parameter of now the way he chooses script, because by then he was like a celebrated star, right, internationally as well as by the here also in India. I was talking to him about this, and I was also asking him about repeating directors. Because he tend to work with few sort of director repeatedly, and as well as new filmmakers. I was talking to him about it, and he was like, एक note है जो किरदार का होता है. This is what he was saying. I'm just sharing the experience, and then I want you to share yours. एक note है जो एक किरदार का होता है, वो उसका सही पकड़ आने का कोई फॉर्मूला नहीं होता है. लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम ना अरुंधति, क्या है कि जिस डायरेक्टर के साथ आप काम कर रहे हो ना, उसके साथ तुम्हारा एक नोट होना चाहिए, उसके साथ तुम्हारा एक रिदम होना चाहिए. अगर वो रिदम बैठ गया ना, तो then you dance together. And I'm like, is he a musician who is talking about a symphony or something, or is he an actor who is, it was that fascinating. And there you are, that director, the way you have discovered him as an actor, the shades of Irrfan Khan that we have seen in Kissa haven't ever seen anywhere. And then he said ki, you haven't watched my film, the Songs of Scorpions, and you must watch it, Arundhati, not for any other reason, but जिस तरीके से मैंने उसमें एक्सपेरिमेंट किया है ना, नॉट एज एन एक्टर, क्योंकि देखो वो तो मैंने इससे पहले भी किया है, लेकिन इमोशनली there was a very different kind of a rhythm that I have with Anu. मैंने कहा अच्छा, कहते हाँ वो फिल्म जब रिलीज होगा तो देखना. तो those are the vivid memory that I have of Irrfan Khan talking about working with you. I want to know what was your way of discovering that side of the actor?
And it had a lot to do with Irrfan himself. When we started shooting Kissa, these were the very early days. I think this were maybe the first or the second day of shoot, And Irrfan was in the makeup van, and I was setting up a shot on location. I was in front of the camera, and I was just working out that Irrfan would come from here, and then someone would come from here, then they would turn like this. And I wanted to be in a certain kind of speed or a certain kind of slowness. So without realizing it, I was humming a tune, And as I was setting up the song, I was humming a tune. And then from behind me, I heard someone start to sing the tune, you know. And I turned around, and of course, it was Irrfan. And the tune that I was humming was from Ustad, the great Pakistani Qawwali singer, you know.
Nusrat?
Nusrat Saab, yeah. So I was singing a tune from one of Nusrat Saab's Qawwalis, and he then started singing it behind me. So when we did the shot, Irrfan kept that tune in his mind, you know. And when the shot was over, we both felt that there was some magical rhythm that he had caught, you know. There was a kind of lilt that he brought that we thought was something new. We hadn't seen that before. He was very excited. So he came to me and he said, Anup Sahab, whatever shot that we do from now on, I want you to give me a tune or a melody or a song, you know, before the shot. And we will do this whole film in terms of music that I will keep inside myself. And, you know, it helps me a lot in my performance. So that is how we did the whole film, that every time before a shot, we would share a tune. Sometimes he would find it, sometimes I would find it, you know. And I think that working together really bound us very, very closely, because you see what happens is that you can do drama, you can do a dialogue, all right? And you have an idea of character and you can do it. But what happens is, let's say you have a certain dialogue, and instead of speaking it just before in rehearsal, you start singing it, all right? You don't just try to memorize the dialogue by speaking it or reading it, but you sing it. You start singing it. So what happens is that this is something that he told me. He said, what happens is that in the singing, sometimes the song takes you into an emotional nuance that if you were just speaking it, you would never find, you know? So that then became like a kind of charge, a kind of force that was very new to him. And he enjoyed it immensely, you know. So I think this was the beginning of our very, very close relationship together, because we both enjoyed going a little away from the drama, you know, into the other possibilities of the character that we didn't know. And it was music that opened other possibilities, you know. So if you see the performances of Irrfan in Kissa as well as now in the Song of Scorpions, you will see that actually there is a certain musicality about his performances.
And these two films, if I just talk about, one is Kissa, one is this, I think the landscape itself and the society over there, whether it is Punjab or Rajasthan, itself plays such a pivotal character, right? And there in this particular film, what I found another fascinating thing for me is bringing an Iranian actress to play a character, which is such a pivotal character again. I was wondering what was that challenge like, because you know somewhere these two cultures are different, right? And I'm sure there are some similarities, universal emotions. But what was those teeny weeny point that you would like to share, and what was your thought behind casting her?
What you have to say about landscape is very, very important, and I'm so glad that you brought it up. You see, the thing about Irrfan was that when he came to any space, whether it was in the Punjab or later it was here in the Jaisalmer desert, I noticed immediately that during the shoot, he would hardly ever be in the vanity van. You know, he never went to the vanity van, you know. And generally speaking, I've never seen him sitting on a chair. You know, he would sit leaning against a tree. He would sit on a stone. You know, he would be sitting on the ground. And whenever I would turn during the shoot, even if he was not in the shot, he would be there. You know, always. And that was so encouraging to all of us, and the other actors, that here was a great actor, a great star, who, when he was not shooting, stayed there with you. You know, he didn't go to rest. He didn't go to the vanity van to make phone calls. You know, he stayed there in the sun, in the cold, with you. Now, the thing about him was that he wanted to always become very familiar with the space in which he was going to enter. All right? Because he wanted you to feel that, it's not just a space he has entered like any actor, but it is a space that he belongs to. All right. It is a space that has a history for him. Okay. So I would see him, in the desert, for example. He would come and sit down on the sand. He would take off his shoes, and I would see him playing with his toes in the sand. He would find some little plant, and I would see him smelling the plant and, speaking his dialogues to the plant, actually. Yeah. I would see him sitting with the camels and talking to the camels, asking them, तुम्हारी पैदाइश कहाँ की है, कहाँ से आए हो तुम, कितनी दूर से आए हो, why do they call you rocket? You must be a really naughty camel because you run like a rocket, So he would have all these kind of conversations. But that is the way, he did not start living the character. That is the way he started living the life of the character. When we met, both he and I, we met Gulshifte Farhani together at an international film festival. Kissa was being screened, and as it happens at festivals, we were doing a Q&A.
Yeah. And after that interactive session, yes.
Yes. And then we were coming down the podium at the end of it, and we saw this really marvelous, beautiful woman walking towards us, through the crowd. Okay. And she came up to us and she said, coffee. And after that, for the next 2 days, while we were at the festival, we spent every minute together. We would meet at breakfast. We would go and see films together. We would have lunch together. We would go for walks. And that gave us a time really to get to know each other very, very deeply. We could talk about acting. We could talk about our lives. And I don't know if you know, but Gulshifte is an actress who has been exiled from Iran. She's not allowed to return back to her country, And this is because of some work that she did, which the Iranian authorities did not like. And then when Gulshifte started speaking about her exile, about not going back, about not seeing her parents, I felt that she was actually talking about my character in the song of Scorpions, the character of Nuran, which I had not told her about at all. All right, I had not mentioned anything about the song of Scorpions, and like the character Nuran, at one point in the film, finds herself exiled from her village, exiled from her home, and in a way, even exiled from her own body.
Yeah.
And what struck me about Gulshifte and Irrfan was that she had no bitterness about being in exile.
That's a huge thing. Oh my
and
God.
And she said, look, what it did actually is that it opened me to other possibilities. And I was forced to think, who really is Gulshifte? And that, of course, is the question that Irrfan always was asking himself. Who really is Irrfan? So that was one meeting point between them. And then something very special happened, Arundhati. While talking about herself, at one point she just started singing, and she's a musician. She's a trained musician, and she sings like a jinn, you know. She has a beautiful, beautiful voice. So she started singing, and immediately Irfan turned and looked at me, and I knew what he was saying, you know, that this is our actress, that she's the one we have to cast. And then at the end of our 2 days together, you know, we knew that Golshifte was the actress that we had to cast. And we were very, very lucky and honored. And, you know, it was a great moment when she said, but of course I want to act with Irfan. Of course I want to do your film. You know, so that's how it came about.
Interesting, really interesting. You know, there are a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, but you know, we have like really like the clock is ticking. But you know, I just hope that this film finds its audience, and it is. I do not know how I'm going to react at the screening, you know, because you know, I'm going to watch him the big in the 70 screen, but then I will not get a chance to go and say sir film dekh ke bahut maza aaya, ye jo samne se ye,
yes,
you know, I think those are the very special thing for a film journalist or people like us who get that chance. This is the privilege, right? आप सामने से जाके कह सकते हो, इस बारी ऐसा नहीं होगा, और that is making me like, you know, very emotional. But
yes,
but wish you all the best for the film.
Arundhati, that is very, very kind of you. Thank you so very much.